Okay, I'm Dr. Constantly Carney, Provost here at the Tarpon Springs campus, and I'm going to be interviewing Mr. John Pagano.
Yep.
Um, John, why don't you start by giving us your name, your um, date of birth, years of service, branch you served in.
I'm John Pagano. I was born in December 28th, 1985. I was serving in the United States Marine Corps. I did 6 years from 2006, April 2006 to April 2012.
All right. John, how old were you when you were enlisted in the Marine Corps?
I was 20 years old.
You were 20 years old. And why did you enlist? What provoked you to enlist? Help us understand your thought process leading up to enlisting.
I had been on hold for the Air Force for a while. They were saying it was like a year wait, and then I went to talk to an Army recruiter to see if I could get in any quicker. And when I went in, the Marine Corps recruiter grabbed me up and started talking to me, and decided to go that way instead.
Had anyone in your family ever served in the military?
Not anywhere immediate family. I think my grandmother's brother, who I never really met, but he was in the Navy, commander or some sort.
And why did you want to go in to serve your country?
Why?
Why? Yeah.
I always just felt very like serving the country was something that you should do. Growing up, I always looked up to service members.
So you were how many years out of high school when you went in?
I was 2 years out of high school. I was actually enrolled in St. B. College
Oh, really?
in 2005 when I decided to join.
Did any of your friends, you talked to any of your friends about enlisting, and were any of them interested?
Not really. My friends kind of scattered after high school. Had a girlfriend, and things were getting rough, so we just kind of broke it off when we decided to go in and do our own things.
Mm-hmm. What did your family think about your enlisting in the United States Marine Corps?
They were very surprised. They were thinking I was going to be an airman at first, because I said I was going into there, and then I told them I was going to see the Army recruiter, and then I didn't tell them about it was actually the Marine Corps until the day I left for boot camp.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't want them to be too anxious about it,
Mm-hmm.
so I told them, and they were proud of me.
They were proud of you?
Yes.
Yeah.
A little worried, but
What did your mother say?
my mother cried. She, especially when I left for boot camp, was actually 2 weeks prior than the planned date, because somebody hopped the bus, or they dropped out last minute and they
Mm-hmm.
needed someone to fill the seat. So
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, I'll go.
What about your father?
My father he's always been pretty cool, strong character. So he supported me, and he's a very strong person.
Why do you think your mother cried?
She knew she wouldn't be seeing me for a while, and I mean, I have 2 younger brothers, so they were there, but firstborn.
What do they think about your enlisting in the Marine Corps?
They were sad that I left. They still tell me today that it was kind of crap that
Mm-hmm.
I was just gone. They weren't really expecting it, and that I was gone.
Did your brothers later? What did they decide about serving in the military?
I think they both sort of looked into it, and then my brother Kenny, he has some back issues,
Mm-hmm.
so he wasn't able to join, or else he would definitely have been an Army cook by now, or working his way up. But he went to culinary art school, instead.
Culinary arts.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the
Okay.
other, he's been in and out of college. He's even younger, so he just finished his first year of college and decided to take a break.
Mm-hmm.
So he's sort of doing his own thing right now, but he still kind of has it in his mind that he might join in order to pay for college.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk more about your experience in the United States Marine Corps. So when you left to go to boot camp, describe your initial training experience at boot camp. What was it like the first day you got to boot camp?
First day, you can take a bus in, and then as soon as you show up, they're screaming at you to get off the bus and get on these yellow footprints. And basically, the first day they take away everything you have, all your possessions, and cut your hair, and it's sort of like a rebirth process.
Like a what?
A rebirth process.
Rebirth process.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So they take everything away, and then they give you these green skivvies, a t-shirt and some shorts, and that's all you got for the first 2 days. And then they shave your head, and you're bald. And I had hair down to my middle of my ear at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel like cutting it because I knew they were gonna get rid of it all.
So you got to share a picture with us with your first haircut.
It's a fine one.
So continue to describe your basic training experience. What do you remember about it?
Basic training was interesting for me. I spent 5 months in basic training instead of the required 3 because when I first started, I was overweight. So on the initial pickup day, I wasn't picked up. I had to get dropped to a weight control platoon. Took me about 2 weeks to get into shape, 2-3 weeks.
Mm-hmm. What was that like?
It was really rough. Very regimented. Every day you're doing workouts, and your diet strictly regulated.
Mm-hmm. So what time do your day start?
Days, I think, always started at 5 a.m. and usually get up and either PT or you go get food and then you go out and PT, physical training.
So what were they feeding you?
For me, it was mostly salads and cottage cheese. Nothing, no starches, no sugars.
Man.
So it was a lot of salad.
So
Chicken.
so after 2 weeks, how much weight did you lose?
I went in at about 235-ish, and I got down to about 210, and had put on enough muscle to where I could pass an initial physical training test.
So that took you
Fitness
2 weeks
test.
to
It
drop
was
20 pounds?
2 or 3 weeks, and then I was cycled in. I had to go through another pickup, initial PFD, and then I got picked up by a 2nd Battalion platoon, hotel company, I believe it was, and they
Where
picked me
where
up.
was this? What city?
We were in Parris Island, South Carolina.
South Carolina. So after like 3 or 4 weeks, you got with a platoon.
Yep.
So describe that. Describe the first day you got to that.
It was a great relief because when I first got drafted, I had to give my parents a call and tell them that my graduation date had been changed, and couldn't really talk to them. There's a drill instructor staring at you. You're given a script, and that's the only contact you could get.
They give you a script to talk to your parents?
Yes.
So how did the script go?
Oh, it was something like, "Hello, sir, ma'am. This is Recruit Pagano. Calling you to inform you that my graduation date has changed. It'll be blah blah blah." So, and then when I got picked up, I was able to give them my new. I could call again and say my new graduation date. So that was a good feeling.
So what was that? So how long did you stay in that second training?
The second in hotel company, I was there until after the rifle range. There's an event called the Crucible, and it's basically 4 days in the field, shooting and hiking and obstacle courses. And I was at this long obstacle course, simulated fire and stuff like that, and I was underneath some barbed wire when I dislocated my shoulder for the first time. And
How did that happen?
I was just reaching wrong. I actually had, I think I had previously injured it falling from another obstacle, and then it finally dislocated when I was crawling underneath barbed wire, and I had to get pulled out and then sent to the medics, and they had to
So reset that.
reset my shoulder.
How long did it take to heal and get back onto
That took
training?
the additional. It took about a month, a little over a month, to get me back to the point where I could do pull-ups with my shoulder.
So then you had to call your parents again and
Yes,
extend your graduation.
it was very upsetting, but and
So you finally got back. You healed from your shoulder. So what happened then, from the time you got back until the time you graduated?
as soon as I got back, then it was sort of second nature. I actually got recycled like a week before where I was. Back to, I think it's training day 180, and so I had a week, and I'd already been to the Crucible for a couple days, so I knew what was going on, and then some of the other guys looked to me for some knowledge as to what's happening. I was actually able to get through it all this time, and
The Crucible.
yes.
So you got through the Crucible, and then what happened?
Got to get all the way to graduation, and
So describe that graduation date.
graduation date. By the time I reached graduation, I'd actually lost even more weight. I was down to 190 pounds, and
You're mean and lean.
I was very lean. And yes, my parents said they didn't recognize me, and when I finally caught up to them and said, "Hey, it's me," they're like, "Oh, you look so skinny," and they thought I'd been through a concentration camp. That's how skinny I was.
But by this time you were dressed in your
Yes,
Marine
I
Corps.
was in my uniform,
fantastic.
in my
So-
Charlies.
That was still at Paris Island.
Yes,
So then did you get to go home after
they
that?
gave you 10 days of leave after
So,
boot camp.
so you went home, and so what did you do when you were at home? Did you get to see all your
went
friends,
home,
and
went and saw some friends.
did you wear your uniform around? Were you?
A little bit for the family. Went to church in the uniform, stuff like that.
They were very proud of you.
Yes, they were all very proud.
Did you enjoy wearing your Marine Corps uniform?
Yes, got a lot of attention. Got the family.
And you're in the
said I
best
looked
shape
good.
of your life.
Yeah, I hadn't been that skinny since I was a kid.
So, were there any guys that you remember from basic training that stick out in your mind that to this day you still think about or wonder where they are or stay in contact with?
In the basic training, I actually ran into one of the guys that I went to the Boy Scouts with, actually, and he was in the medical hull platoon with me when I was healing with my shoulder. He had actually joined a couple months after me, so it was interesting. It was nice to see a friendly face, and I got recycled before him, so I didn't see him for too long, but he got through it and continued on his Marine Corps career.
Any particular drill sergeants stick out in your mind as making an impression on you?
There's a few of them. They have different types of drill instructors. There's a senior drill instructor, and then what they call a drill hat, and then a kill hat. And the drill hat is the sort of training guy, teaches you more, and the kill hat's there to kill you, to mess you up, to make sure you're running and yell at you and stuff like that. I mean, they all do it, but that guy,
The kill hat
his
is
main
especially.
job is to do that. And I had Sergeant Gonzalez he really didn't like me because he probably was only as tall as my chest, and he made me get on my knees so that he could spit in my face and yell at me.
So in the end, when you graduated, did you see him?
Yes, of course. Once you get through the graduation, they're all friendly and shaking your hand and congratulating you, and they're proud of you.
So the one that was shorter than you, he finally shook your hand?
Yes, it was interesting.
So you graduated, you came home, and then you were deployed. What happened when you were your next assignment?
The next thing I did was I had a very technical MOS, my occupational school,
Mm-hmm.
and I did. It's called Tactical Data Systems Administration, and basically the computers for keeping track of all the planes that the Navy and the Marine Corps use. I learned how to service, repair, install, and maintain those computers so that the commander could have full control over the air war and know exactly where everything is. They could tell, what plane was which, what ammo it had on it, how many missiles, that sort of stuff through these computers.
Mm-hmm.
And the radar. So I had to learn. It took 10 months of schooling out in the desert in 29 Palms, California.
Whereabouts, California?
29 Palms.
Mm-hmm. So you're out there for 10 months?
10 months. There's nothing out there. It's pretty just in the middle of the desert. Big training. They do tank movements out there and artillery. There's an artillery range, so it's one of the biggest bases the Marine Corps has, but there's nothing on it because it's mostly range. And then there's the comm school, communication school, where I went for 10 months.
So what was your day like in your schooling?
In schooling, it was usually get up, sort of clean up the room, then you'd go to formation, and depending on what season it was, we'd either do afternoon PT or a morning PT. We'd either have a PT formation in the morning and go run or exercise, or down to the gym, or we'd go to school for till a little bit till like 11. Then we'd go PT, then we'd go to chow,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'd go back to school till about 6. So it was a lot of training, a lot of schooling.
Mm-hmm. Did you get any time off during the 10 months?
They give you the weekends, and normally the students at that school aren't allowed to have their own vehicles, but because it's supposed to be 10 months to a year, we were allowed to get vehicles, and I was one of the first people to do so because I did not like being in the desert, and it was a 3-hour, 4-hour drive to California to LA, and one of my bunkmate actually had a girlfriend out in Long Beach, so usually on the weekends we would make that drive whenever we could to get,
So did you like vacationing or visiting to
Yes,
Los Angeles?
It was a lot nicer. There's some alcohol in 29 Palms, which just gets people in trouble. So I tried to stay away from that,
Yeah.
and then get out and actually experience the real world. It's always nice.
So after your 10 months training, then where did you go?
Then I went to Miramar, California. It's the air base that's. Have you ever seen the movie Top Gun?
Mm-hmm.
That's the air base. That's Miramar, California, and that's where I went. And we.
How long were you there?
I was there for about 2 years, in the middle of which I deployed to Iraq for 7 months.
You did what? Oh, you went to Iraq.
Yes, with that unit.
Okay. So what did you do? What was the purpose of going to Miramar?
In Miramar, they have a unit, MTACs, Marine Tactical Air Control Systems, our squadron, and we basically, like I said, we put up the computers that monitor the air war, and we did several operations out in the desert again, actually in Arizona and Mojave. Mojave Viper, and there's another operation that was in Arizona. Can't remember what it's called.
So you basically were training on operations to be able to do the same thing when you got to Iraq.
Yes.
Yeah. So so you were there for 2 years.
In that unit, yes.
Okay. So then, but you got deployed to Iraq. Tell us about that.
Iraq was pretty interesting. When you go there, you have to you fly into Kuwait in a 747 or 757, big old jet, and then you get on to a C-130, this little cargo plane with prop engines, and they fly you into Iraq, but they have to do what's called a combat landing. So you fly up, like here's the landing strip, usually you go down and land, they fly up high and then go straight down and then land in order to avoid getting fired at by mortars or machine guns. So that was
So tell us about the first day you got to Iraq.
First day, basically you put in like a holding area. It was night the entire time, and it was hot. It was like like being inside of a hairdryer, blowing
Really?
sand.
What was the temperature?
It had to be, first night, it got hotter, but first night it was like close to 100 degrees, maybe 98, 99 degrees out. And then, that wasn't even the hottest it got, but.
So walk us through your first week in Iraq. What did you do?
First week we go, we get our bunk, and then there's a command center. We have to walk. It's not too far, but we go there, we get familiar with the setup and where everything is, and just what our equipment is, and take inventory. And the other people that we're taking over for, they have to take inventory, and then we do an exchange of duties and basically take over, and they explain anything that's different about their system.
So you're running these computer systems, tracking all of the. What were you tracking then?
Basically all the planes, making sure that our artillery didn't fire on our own planes, making sure that one of our big jobs was to get the information from the Air Force, because they fly at higher altitudes than the Marines do, and make sure that when they're landing, we don't have planes in their way, and vice versa. So airspace deconflictation was a big job, and we had to go.
So were you monitoring like a civilian air controller?
It was similar to that.
Really?
Well, I wasn't actually monitoring it. I was more of, they have operators who actually monitor it. I'm more the maintenance guy for the system, and make sure that it's working and make sure it's getting the information correctly.
So what kind of computers did you work on?
Everything from Microsoft Windows 2000 computer, but then we had servers that had to connect to each other. We had Windows, I think it was Windows 2003 servers, and they talked to a Linux server, Sun System server.
Sun
so
System.
It's two different languages, and they all had to talk together, and then they talk to the radars, and it's a lot of stuff going on at once.
Did you experience any combat?
I did not experience any
in Iraq?
combat per se.
Were you around it? Could you hear it?
Not really. Luckily, my job is on the base in the command center.
What city were you in?
We were in Camp Al-Assad, Iraq.